say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. Any comments or questions?
Ms. Maxwell,
Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
can I make a request that we move the ESL portion to further down, maybe behind instruction, because I believe there'll be some discussion on that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do you care if we move it down? Okay. We may not need a second, but just in case. So where do you want to move it to? Behind instruction?
Yes, please.
Number 3 under instruction, maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Tidwell. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next we have Rutherford Pratt.
So these, we're going to recognize our CMA Music Teachers of Excellence. We talked about this at our last board meeting. We had 3 Rutherford County Schools music educators that were recognized as 2025 CMA Music Teachers of Excellence. Only 30 teachers nationwide were selected, which makes it even more of an honor for 3 of them to be from Rutherford County. I was supposed to be in that, but I had to send Dr. Martin. I've talked to several of you why I couldn't be there, so apologize I couldn't be there because I definitely wanted to be. We have Reggie Coleman, band director at Rocky Fork Middle School, and if you guys can come up, and then Dr. Halford, if you want to say anything, it's totally up to you as well. Garrett Dew, choir director at Smyrna High School, and then Nick F. Stothieu, band director at Riverdale High School. Nick, did I do halfway decent?
You did great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I just want to say, again, to reiterate what Dr. Sullivan said, how proud we are that out of 30 nationwide music teachers of excellence, 3 of them are right here in Rutherford County, and it speaks to the quality of our music programs, the quality of educator we have, because of the support of our board and our leadership, and the importance placed on music education here, that we have these wonderful educators. So thank you all, and congratulations to you 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
Next we have RCS Strong Outstanding Staff Awards. Mr. Evans.
So we're going to do it a little bit differently tonight. That we don't have a backdrop over here because the television's what we're going to figure that out. But we're going to line up in front of the board tonight. So thankful for our crew over here at Sonic, Chris Braggett and Alan Schuler. They have agreed to do this again all year long. Of course, we launched this last year. They came to every one of these, even when we had to change some things around the last minute. So just appreciate their continued partnership with our school system and for recognizing our staff members. We also have a new category this year. We had this request because we have a lot of people in this building who are hourly employees and things like that. They said, there's not really a category for those central office employees. And when I say that, I don't mean the leadership team. We're exempt from these kinds of awards, but we have a lot of other people who serve. They serve long hours here, so we want to make sure we recognize those. And I'm really happy with the one that was picked this year or this month. We had more than 700 nominations for the month of August when we put this out, and we'll be doing another request tomorrow for the next set, which will be in October. That's more than we had the entire year last year, so people are starting to recognize the awards and like those. We did the selection a little different this year too. We picked 3 from every category randomly, using one of those wheels that Mr. Vaughn likes, and then we went through those nominations as a leadership team, and Dr. Sullivan, of course, made the final call, but everyone's deserving. I'm hoping some more of these things will come back around. So we're going to start tonight with our administrator, our principal award. That's from Mr. Richard Reed, who, of course, is the principal of Laverne Middle School. I told Mr. Reed I was going to ask this question. What was your growth score this year? What was it last year? How many years have you been there? 2, okay. I mean, as principal, 2. Yes. Right. Okay, so the nomination for Mr. Reed, this is what I'm going to read this. I was part of the LMS family before Mr. Reed joined the LMS team as an assistant principal. I have never attempted to leave the school because of the dedication to the students' and community service, and I felt that culture mattered more than time travel, scores, or ratings. This goes on to say, I thought our school was as close to perfect as it could be, but Mr. Reed has elevated that reasoning even more for me. He raised the bar at LMS, even though I didn't think that we could get any higher. He spends countless hours devoted to the students in the building, especially the ones who need a hero the most. His compassion towards our students is like none other that I've witnessed. He has sown seeds that Rutherford County area will see for decades. So that's your nomination. All right. Next up is Miss Sarah Sears, who is an instructional coach at Rockville Middle School. You've been in that position about 7 years now, is that right? That's right. Okay. 16 years total? Okay. See, I did some reading on it. This is the nomination. I originally started as an EA and transitioned to a teaching position midway through last school year. Being in education was totally new experience for me. She has been, as Ms. Sears has been, an incredibly supportive teammate. She answered every question I've had, guided me through various online programs, and helped me navigate workplace dynamics. Her mentorship and guidance have been instrumental in building my confidence and growth as an educator. And while I know I still have plenty to learn, I'm grateful for the foundation she's helped me build, and I look forward to continuing to learn from her. So that's your nomination. Congratulations. All right, under the support staff category, Miss Stephanie, and I never say your name right, but I'm going to try to say Machinet. Am I close? Okay. So I've known Stephanie for many, many years. She is the best school secretary that I think I've ever met. She is, of course, at Rockville High School with Mr. Luker. She's been with him at multiple schools, I believe. Is that right? Came with Smyrna Middle. You're just a glutton for punishment? Is that right? Okay. 18 years. Miss Stephanie goes out of her way to comfort and welcome every staff member and student. She is mother of all of us teachers. She's a mother to all of us teachers and the most beloved person in our school. She's always pleasant and accommodating. No recognition would be adequate. She is a rock star. So, congratulations. All right, so our first central office award winner is Miss Renee Pope from our Human Resources Department. Ms. Pope received multiple nominations, but I'm going to read one of them. And it's a really cool one. I'll tell you why when I get done. Renee goes above and beyond for her job. She trained me and is always a good example of what an admin assistant should be. I can go to Renee with any questions and she will have an answer for me every time. She gave me a tour of the building and introduced me to everyone. She made sure that I had all of my logins, even though it took some extra effort by constantly emailing people. She took excellent notes and set me up so that I am prepared for any issues that I may face with the job. I even noticed some of the analysts going to her for questions as well. She is definitely one of the most knowledgeable people in the HR department. Now, that comes from Miss Jordan, who took your position because you got promoted up. And this was only just a few days after you trained her. She was so impressed with you, she just had to get a nomination. I thought that was extra special. Congratulations. Last but not least is Miss Gail Howell, bus 243. I got the bus number right? I know that means a lot. I just want to make sure I get it right. Ms. Howell always takes such great care of the students who ride her bus. She loves on their families as well. The beginning of the year is always stressful for parents and staff, and she makes sure students are well taken care of and arrive home safely every afternoon. Congratulations. And tell us who this handsome guy is with. What's his name? Randy. All right, welcome. All right, so if I could just get the board to stand up, and we're just going to take a photo right here. Oh, geez, all right, there. This.
Seeing dots.
Okay, Ms. Maxwell, I have one more thing and then I'm done.
Yes.
So in front of you all is this month's communications report. It's the light blue or maybe blue. Not going to read all this to you, of course, but we try to show you some of the highlights that we're doing each month. And we've had a big month, even though it's just the first few weeks of school. As you probably saw, Laverne High School had the big announcement this week at Northern Tool that they've been selected as the only high school in the country to help repurpose this brand new Harley street bike into a dirt track bike. Those kids were giddy. It was just a great experience to see. We also highlighted Oakland High School's Dr. Sarah Darren Mathis, who is leading their biotech program over there. And I had the opportunity to see her classroom today. It's really, you'll see it Sunday. It's really incredible. It's a college level laboratory there in the high school. And the students are just going to get so much great opportunity out of it. There's some other things there you can see. Of course, we have the ribbon cutting for Oakland on Sunday at 2. On the back side of the page are some of our comparison numbers from August to August. I'm not going to go through all of these. What I like to say is all the arrows are pointing up, which is what we like. Now, Mr. Vaughn brought me his company's numbers and like to brag that his are higher than ours. And I said, that's great. I think his marketing budget is about 4 times ours, too. So we can trade if he wants. So, but yes, sir, I appreciate that. Something interesting at the bottom there on the website, we have 109 active users this past month. Some of the top pages that are visited, which is probably no surprise, but the bus route page, the academic calendar, the lunch menu, and then open jobs. And there are not too many open jobs right now. HR Department is doing a great job. So I just want to highlight some of those. Are there any questions or any information I can bring back next month? Okay.
Doing great.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell.
Thank you. We had our guest speaker. He was here, Mr. Mike Sparks, Representative Mike Sparks was here Tuesday, and he left with us a resolution of which we all have sitting by our packets, and he would ask for our support.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. I'll just go ahead and say I appreciate him coming and speaking. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay. 5-2. Resolution passes. Next, we have public comments, and we do have one person that signed up for public comments. Her name is Whitney Rudden. Hi, did I pronounce that right?
It's my very last.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Huffman. I have 2 students at Poplar Hill, which is a new elementary school. Very excited about that. I am also a Sunday school teacher at St. Luke's Catholic Church in Smyrna. And I am talking today just in support of the Parents ESL program. I think it's an incredibly important initiative that we pass in Rutherford County, and I think it's really shown great improvements to school outcomes. It's shown an increase in other counties that have done it in parental engagement, which is the #1 predictor of student outcomes. So the more that our parents can speak to our teachers and our staff in English, the better the outcome is for our students. There was actually a longitudinal study done on dual language learners in Miami that showed that these types of programs and early acquisition of English predicted significantly better outcomes for individuals through 5th grade, including higher test scores, lower risk of grade retention, higher GPAs, fewer social and emotional problems, better improved student attendance, intergenerational gains, and also improvements in parent engagement within the schools. So I just wanted to briefly speak that I think this is a very important initiative. As a person who teaches a lot of children who do not have parents that speak English, It is incredibly important that we have information and that they can gain access to English language learning that helps them engage better with their students and with our schools to improve the outcomes within all of Rutherford County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have instruction. Number 1.
So we discussed at our work session the middle school rezoning, and so just went over what was approved last time. Our timeline, we got the email today from RSP about getting all of our files so that they can do our analysis, because we can wait until the end of September to do the analysis, since we are still having students. We'll have the board retreat on November 4th to look at enrollment trends and possible changes. Then we'll have, I believe we have a meeting at the beginning of November, have discussions for the next month of November, and then make a decision on middle school zones in December to be able to implement. I'll tell you, we are looking at posting that middle school principal position November 3rd or 10th, somewhere during that timeline, because it's always good for parents to have an idea of who the principal is going to be before you actually put the rezoning in place. We are going to have to look at changing a little bit. We talked about the Rockville-Blackman area. Rockville is not going to get enough relief, so shifting some of those students towards Blackman, looking at the downtown area. One of the other things that there's going to be talking about rezoning, we talked about this in August. Stewart's Creek Elementary School is a little bit over their projection. They're projected just over 1,100 students. They're over 1,150 at this point. We do have over 75 student employee zone exemptions for students at that school. And so that area is projected, even with RSP, to be back to 1,300, 1,400 in the next 3 years. And so we're going to have to look at shifting that zone, since there's not going to be another elementary school in that area at that time. That's, as we talked about in August, not going to be a fun decision, because it's either going to be a combination of look at moving the Branch Chapel zone back over Almaville Road, or looking at employee zone exemptions. So it's going to have to be a combination of that. Kids.
Thank you. Number 2.
This is David Uring, Laverne Lake Elementary, requesting to partner with Better Lessons for professional development plan throughout the 25-26 school year. Expeditionary Learning, ELs, our current English language arts adoption for elementary schools, and Better Lessons will work with our administration teachers from both faculties to improve instruction using our Tier 1 curriculum. Plan will include an in-person baseline learning walk with administrators, provide in-person workshops with teachers, and in-person learning walks in the building. Funding for this plan will not exceed $60,500 for the 2 schools and will come from Title I funds.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And we go back to
The ESL, yes.
the ESL.
Yep, and we have Ms. Turnbow here as well to help answer any questions if there are any. The ESL department's requesting the use of Title III funds to conduct an ESL parent class at Smyrna Elementary School. Eric Aguilar, ESL EA, will be paid $25 an hour for 2 hours of instruction each week. For semester 1, the class meets 12 weeks. Semester 2, the class will meet 17 weeks. Total payment of $1,450 for the 25-26 school year. ESL department is also requesting the use of Title III funds to conduct an ESL parent class at Smyrna Primary. Adisa Alvarez, ESL EA, will be paid $25 an hour for 2 hours of instruction each week. Again, semester 1, the class will meet for 12 weeks. For semester 2, the class meets 17 weeks. Total payment of $1,450 for the 25-26 school year. ESL department requests to use Title III funds to provide a $2,000 stipend to ESL coaches for after-school professional development responsibilities, and you see the coaches listed. And then last, ESL department requests to add Rachel Sanderson Campus School and Aaron Woodrum McFadden to the list of ESL lead teachers receiving the lead stipend. $1,000 are paid to each teacher for their extra duties from Title III. And then we got an email last night, and I sent this to the board as well today, but you may not have had time to read it. The program's been in place since at least the 2019-2020 school year, which is, as far as they can go back and look at E-Plan, which is the approval process. Proposed program for the 25-26 school year is smaller than what we did last year. We had questions about the Title III funds, what they can be used for. Title III funds for the 25-26 school year, which is this year, are already approved and been sent to districts from the federal government and approved by the Tennessee Department of Education. We have to go through an application process and approval process with the Tennessee Department of Education to use our consolidated funds. That was already approved. Congress is having a lot of discussion about federal education funds, which I'm sure will impact us in the future, but those won't impact us until July of 2026. We have from the Tennessee Department of Education, a federal spending handbook. And so go through, and I'll just read a couple, that districts are allowed to do and have to meet certain qualifications and bullet points to be able to do. On page 31, one of the last bullet points, because that's what Title III is talked about, it says Title III, Part 8, the purposes are to promote parental, family, and community participation in language instruction, educational programs for the parents, families, and communities of ELs. On page 32, it talks about what it can fund, and that section states, providing and implementing other effective activities and strategies that enhance or supplement language instruction, educational programs for ELs. And it says which must, and this is boldly underlined for the Department of Education, include, in bold, parent, family, and community engagement activities. On page 33, it lists the document continues with authorized subgrantee, which would be a district and LEA. Those activities include providing community participation programs, family literacy services, parent and family outreach, and training activities to ELs and their families to improve English language skills, and to assist parents and families in helping their children to improve their academic achievement, and lastly, becoming active participations in the education of their children. So just want to provide some background, and whatever the board decides, of course, we'll support, but this has been a needed and well-done activity in our schools for the last 5 years.
Ms. Turnbow is here if anyone has any questions or comments or just wants to say anything. Mr. Tickle.
Yes, so I knew there would be some discussion around this. I've received phone calls, text messages, emails, everything about this, and I've heard kind of from both sides. My question is kind of, or the discussion point I want to have with the board is probably not what is expected here, but the thought here that I have is, as Dr. Sullivan just said, there are, of course, grounds for all of this. It's been operating for the past 4 or 5 years, and there's I'm sure there's been some successful pieces to this. So I'm not against it on that particular regard. Matter of fact, I have a good friend that went through it at one of our schools, and it's a citizen, definitely helped him. He's very productive in our community. So for that reason, it's not that I'm against this program. Where I kind of ran into some, I would say, just some barriers is, well, is this being offered anywhere else? And so my friend, he said, or he was saying that he chose our program, but there were other programs out there. So I did some research to see what programs there were. There's some churches that do it. The library does it. There's other options out there. Those options include Zoom classes, in person. So there's other options. They're not fully attended. They're pretty flexible. So I thought, okay, well then that leads me back to a conversation we been having for the past year, and we had a resolution on earlier this January, is that we are going to the state asking them for more funding, and I realize this is federal funds, but we're going to ask for more funding for ESL students, EL students, while at the same time we're using funding for something that we're technically not required to do, which is outside the K through 12 program, which is our main interest, which is students. So the discussion point that I'm trying to bring forth the board today is not necessarily against helping parents. Of course, I'm for parents, and I agree with the lady that spoke that the best thing to help students is parent involvement. I agree with that 100%. So, yeah, come on up here. I'm throwing some stuff out there, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, I want there to be open transparency and open dialogue about it. One thing that, and I brought this just in case y'all wanted to see it, but the allowable use of funds. You can just take one, pass it down.
Absolutely.
I'll wait till everybody gets it. But you can see there are 3 things that I must budget for, or I will not be approved. And I'll wait till you can see. It starts number 1 at the bottom, underline, bolded, italicized, the word must. And also the thing is, when my Title III budget is not approved, all of the budgets are not approved. They're all in that consolidated fund. So if I don't put these 3 things in, it's going to be sent back to me. And you'll see number 1 starts at the very bottom, required uses of Title III. The first one is bolded, effective language instruction, educational programs. If you flip the page, you'll see number 2, effective professional development. And then you'll see number 3, other effective activities and strategies. And then it goes on to bold, italicized, underline, must include parent, family, and community engagement activities. And so we spend a very small amount of our Title III budget. There's actually been conversation from monitors in the past that we didn't spend enough on parent engagement. So this was just one way that we really thought was cost effective, that it wasn't taking away from the K-12 program, because you're right, we have a lot of students and we need our Title III funds. But I'm also under requirements of certain things to make sure I do set aside in my budget some community and parent outreach. And then even on the last page, if you'll, in that expenditure, page 6, it tells you allowable costs for English learner family support and engagement. And you'll see the second bullet point, supplemental parent and family engagement for EL families, including ESL instruction for parents. So I think that the ones that we have is reasonable. You know, we're talking about maybe it's under $10,000 for out of a $1.3 million budget. You know, so I think that's how I would answer is I've got to do some things. I do think this is a great thing for our families. It actually got started before me, of course, with one class, but we added the Smyrna Elementary class because it was a request of Ms. Ritter. She's actually here tonight. Because she said it was the number one thing asked for at her spring planning meetings. And so she came to me and said, is this an allowable use of your funds? Can we do this? And we added that one there. Then we got a big grant in the spring, and we did those additional 10 locations. We didn't do those again because it was just part of the grant. I wasn't going to use all my money. You know, I'm trying to use it wisely. But the only other one we added was the Smyrna Primary because it had the best attendance out of all of them, all the extra 10 we did with the grant. And we had a teacher that was very passionate about it. She's actually got a lot, she's going to improve the whole program, honestly, with the passion she has. And she's already made a connection with Read to Succeed to improve our curriculum. So, long story short, to answer your question, we've got to do something in our budget for that parent engagement piece. And I felt like this was a very small amount in the scope of our budget.
Thank you for that explanation. I mean, clarity is key, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And that was one of my biggest hangups is just the separation of if we're having funding shortages in this.
Right.
Then are we taking funding away for something else
Right.
that we're not required? But as I'm understanding what you're saying, it is a requirement.
It is, yeah. And I think if you look through those, like the federal spending handbook that Dr. Sullivan was referencing, and then, you know, what I gave you here for the allowable costs, I can't get around that word must, and for those 3 things. And then after that, there's a lot of wiggle room. You'll see some allowable costs that we can do. That's up to us, but those 3, we just can't not do it. Now, could I do something else? You know, yes, I could. We actually do a lot of parent meetings. Those don't cost any money, though. I've got to find a way to prove that I have spent money on parent engagement. And I love the parent classes. I do think it's a good way to do that. And again, it's very common. 10,000 and a 1.3 million, you know, it's a small amount in my eyes. And it hasn't taken away totally. Sorry, Mr. Voss, from K-12.
Mr. Vaughn is first, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Let me know if you have more questions, though.
You know, a must is a must. And I think for this reason that communication is so very important, but especially if you improve the communication abilities of parents and with the teachers, it's going to benefit the kids. And for that reason, I'd like to make a motion to approve. So.
Second. Can we not have some more discussion? Yeah, we can have some more discussion. Yeah, but thank you. We've got a motion and we've got a second. And go ahead, Ms. Sharp. Did you?
Well, I think Ms. Results.
Okay,
Yeah.
you still want to?
So, thank you. So I was at Smyrna Elementary School, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the amount of kids and parents that had a language barrier. And if you look at the whole pie, not even the $1.3 million that we get from the federal dollars, just look at the whole entire budget that we get. I think we're at 580 something million dollars. I did a total of this, and it's $13,550. That's how much this is that we're getting asked to allocate just to provide ESL classes for the parents so they can learn English. It's very difficult, whether we like it or not. We're put in a position where we're having to communicate with people and they don't know the language. And it's very, very hard to communicate and understand what is being said. And I don't know why we're even having discussions since we voted for this 2 weeks ago to have it, when what we're doing is saying that we're wanting them to learn the language so that we can communicate back and forth and understand what is being said instead of scrambling with Google Translate on the phone trying to translate what people are saying, what they're saying. And there's so many different languages. It's not just Spanish, there's Arabic, and even within Spanish, there's a different dialect. So the fact that we're trying to remedy a situation that it's out of our control, I think it's a good thing.
Yes. Now, Ms. Sharp and Ms. Darby, that was next. I just apologize.
Okay, thank you. Hi, thanks for being here tonight. After looking at this and going over the history, I think this probably was shifted from our Title II funds because there was some parent involvement in that. Would that, do you think?
Title I.
I know that they had shifted away and they had reduced the parental involvement.
Should have been Title I. Title II is professional development.
Sorry, Title I,
Yeah.
Title I, because I was dismayed that they had taken the parents' participation in there pretty much away, and they really lowered that to like a 1 or 2%. So really looking and talking to everybody now, this looks like they probably shifted from Title I to here, and it's a minimal amount. I get what everybody's saying. It is hard to speak with the parents. My concern is, do we think really that there's going to be anybody that shows up? Because I read the Spanish pages as well when they have translator, and there was people in there that were making comments about don't do it.
Well, I
No,
will
it's
say, I'm sorry.
Well, they were just saying that, don't do it. It's a trap, basically what they were saying. So I'm fearful that people are going to be fearful to come.
Right.
Do you have a lot of people that have shown up, signed up already?
Well, we're starting after fall break. They had been working on this new curriculum with Read to Succeed, so it kind of slowed us down getting started. But the teachers, they're returning teachers, and they've already had people reaching out saying, when are we starting back? That have been with them in the spring. So I can't tell you what the attendance is going to be, but I do know there's parents planning to come as of now based on what the teachers have told me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Darby, did you have?
I did just a couple things. Thank you for the information
welcome.
you provided earlier this week when I asked. And Ms. Sharp, I have the previous averages I can forward to you if you want to see them. I'm just curious, do you know how many different languages we're teaching through this program right now?
Just English. No,
Well,
I don't know how many come,
other
though.
languages we're servicing?
No, the majority will be Spanish because that's the majority that's represented at Smyrna Elementary and Smyrna Primary. But I don't know the variety. Ms. Ritter, do you happen to know if there's multiple languages? That would be my
I was
guess.
curious about that because I know Smyrna has a pretty big Arabic population. I was curious if they were attending as well.
Most are not in that zone, though. A lot are a little more over. Like Stewart's Creek is a little heavier Arabic. Not to say there's not Arabic there too, but what's on the consent agenda tonight is actually to add some bilingual staff. The 2 teachers were approved August 21st, and then they said to me, "Hey, I think we've messed up and not added a helper, an assistant that is bilingual, and they're both Spanish speakers." So that would be my expectation of what will attend as Spanish speakers. But, even in our ESL classes in the schools, we have multiple languages sitting around the table. We're all working toward learning English. So, but what is on the agenda tonight is to add 2 bilingual aides, 1 for each school. And I meant to say, Mr. Tidwell, that we do advertise all those the churches and all the Read to Succeed, Working Mission, they're all on our website, and we've already sent it out to parents too. I mean, we have, not just in our English program, but when you look at our, school data, we have 16,000 families that speak another language at home. So our 2 classes are not going to make a big dent. So we definitely share all those others in there on the website too.
Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I appreciate that. And like I said, I had a friend that went through the class, and it was great and very useful for him. So again, when there is a point of contention, I don't want it to feel to the public like we swept it underneath the rug. And there's been some stuff out there that's been floating around. So I'd rather address it all publicly, as you have done it tonight. And I appreciate that clarity. So I have the clarity that I needed. The last question that I have is the previous attendance. I mean, you are having people show up to these.
Yes, and do you want me to read that out?
I'm sorry, that put you on the spot.
No, I've got it actually because Miss Darby had asked for it earlier, so I brought it with me. But they told me it was typically for all the years 15 to 20 parents per night. And then in the spring, they went down a little bit at Smyrna Elementary and the one that we have a church host for us. But we also had 10 other classes operating. And so they were saying about 5 to 7 at Smyrna Elementary and at the church. And then Cedar Grove was average of 6. Rocky Fork Elementary an average of 2. So that was one, it was really low. Stewart's Creek Elementary 4. Smyrna Primary 16, which is why we chose to do this one again. Roy Waldron 9, Laverne Lake 6, Laverne Middle 10, Whitworth Buchanan 4, Rock Springs 6, Laverne High 6. And that's an average. When I looked at the sign-in sheets, there'd be nights there'd be 3, there'd be nights there'd be 20, it was up and down.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Turnbow? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we move on to engineering and construction.
Thank you, Ms. Turnbow. And thank you, Board. So the next thing we have is engineering construction. And Mr. Lee talked about this on Tuesday night. City of Laverne Waldron Road realignment request. City of Laverne's working to realign and widen Waldron Road at Rock Springs Elementary. JMT Property Services represents the City of Laverne to purchase properties for the Waldron Road widening. You'll see below the offer is $215,595 based on the value for the property of $75,000 per acre. There's a bonus if signed within 30 days to add $21,560 for a total of $237,160. Engineering construction reviewed the request and has no objections.
Any comments or questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have school nutrition.
School nutrition job description revision. School nutrition department's updating the current position listed as a field manager to align with the current role. Position has been listed as a field manager, but has been performing the duties of a commodities and contract specialist. School nutrition has drafted a job description that's in line with the current duties assigned to the position. Again, it's not a request to add a position, change pay, change days, anything like that. Just an updated job description.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Vaught. Thank you, Ms. Short. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we go to directors.
Yeah, and if you all, John, if you'll go ahead and pull that up. And so if y'all just stay with me, I'm going to do the first part of our academic scores. And so for schools are held accountable for several different things. And the big ones you hear about are going to be your achievement scores, proficiency, and then the other big portion is around growth. And so we're going to talk about TVOS just a little bit tonight in scores, and so that everybody has an idea of kind of what it is. And so first, what is TVOS? In Tennessee, student growth is measured by TVOS. And so this is a huge thing for us for a couple reasons. The first being, and I had our attendance today, person run it, and we had, 5,679 kids currently enrolled with us who were not with us last year. And so part of that is kindergarten. You've got your 2,700 kindergartners, but you then still have 3,000 students who were not with Rutherford County Schools and are with Rutherford County Schools now. And so what we always talk about is that we can't control where students come from, what school system, but what we can focus on is that they have to get a year's growth every single year that they're with us. And that is kind of our charge has been, at least when I was in instruction, and Dr. Chastain's continued that our students have to grow. And TVOS demonstrates students' growth from 1 year of a testing history to the next, no matter where they were truly at. Ultimately, you want all of your students proficient as well, but proficiency rates are changed and controlled and different across every state in the nation. And so when you hear people talk about 45% of students in Tennessee are proficient in reading compared to 80% in Kentucky, and I totally just made those numbers up, just for the record, made those up. Each state has their own test. We don't take the same test. Each state makes their own cut scores for what's considered proficient. What I like to talk about is that if we think back to when you or your children were in school, or their kids in school, and think back to what you learned, what our students are learning today is much more advanced to what we were learning at an earlier age. And so that argument doesn't go along with our schools are performing poorer than they have in the past. If our students are getting exposed and experiencing more advanced content, then something has changed in the assessment. And so we truly look at TVOS to see where our students are. I talked just a little briefly about what's the difference. Achievement looks at students, one, and this is proficiency, one set at a time, and kids are held accountable and they get their own TCAP scores every year. Are they below? Are they approaching? Are they meet or do they exceed expectations? And for proficiency, you're hitting those top two, meets or exceeds. That means you're at grade level. And then growth, that measures student growth again from 1 year to the next. And for us, we don't, again, can't control where they came from, so we want to make sure that they grow while they're with us. When students are compared for growth in TVOS, they're compared to two things. One, their own past performance, and I've got a little example here that the state had about a decade ago that I still think is the easiest way to understand it. And then they're also compared to others like them. And so I used me as an example. If I scored at the 45th NCE, which is a statistical term, I'm compared to all other kids in the state who also performed at that level. And so I need to grow just like all those other students. If I do, then I'm considered a level 3. I got level 3 growth. 1 year is level 3. That's why your law districts talk about it. If you are below that, then you would be a level 1 or 2. If you grew more points, then you'd be a level 4 or a 5. And so it's truly comparing each kid and how they compare across the state. Here's my favorite example. So it is an old track example. The state has a new track example. So this one I believe is easier. So this one I like. Students all make the team by previously taking the test. So everybody's on the track team because they took the test. Each person in here could be an individual student, a classroom, a school, or a district. And so we're talking about groups of students at this point. Every person has a different starting position based on how they were the last year. So for example, I said I was in the 45th NCE. I'm going to be compared to everybody across the state who also is in the 45th NCE. Each kid is different starting line, but again, they're trying to compare to their current group. The start line, as we see, everybody is going around. I love that. We had to make sure that the kids still moved in the right order. The group's average performance, that's going to be what a level 3 is, 1 year. So what did the entire student group for the entire state, how much did the entire state grow? We still have, and I'll get to it in just a second, mastered and on track. So we're not saying, and that truly at this point would be meets or exceeds expectations. Again, this is an older slide. We changed the terminology. Every kid still, we want them to get to proficiency, but we can't control where they came from. We just need to make sure that they grow. So you see everybody in this green box, they met 1 year's growth because the entire student group stayed together. We know that's not reality. Not all of our students perform in a great little green box. They go all over the place. And so they're going to run again. And I hope they stay back on the track, most of them. You will see where most of them are clustered together. That would be what's considered a level 3. The group, they didn't get to proficiency, but they all grew, and this would have been your average growth for the state, for people that were like me at the 45th NCE, for a classroom, for a district. Those would be what are your level 3s. The poor person that's labeled number 4, they fell behind. And so they didn't get a year's growth. If a kid doesn't get a year's growth, there's usually a couple reasons. One, they had a rough year, something happened. or two, they had a teacher that wasn't focused on standards. And so we truly make sure that if we have a teacher or a school that's not focused on standards and kids aren't performing, we need to make changes to make sure everybody gets growth. Where we have been and where we continue to be is where that 6 is. And so again, there's the 4, they didn't meet expectations. We want to be here that we exceeded expectations. And so we're extremely proud to be there, always trying to get to master and on track for the highest number of students we can. And so we're proud, and our school board knows this, we've announced it as a district, but we are a level 5 district. We have been for the past 6 consecutive school years, and we are a level 5 district in every single content area. You get it in numeracy, which is math, literacy, which is ELA, that combine numeracy and literacy together and give you another score that's 5. In science, we're 5, and social studies, we're 5. We also had 32 of our 48 tested schools earn a level 5, which is a phenomenal achievement for our schools. And again, anything over a 3 is considered to be 1 year's growth, but we truly want our kids to gain more. We expect 4s and 5s. There's a list of schools, and I'll just read them quickly. The level 5 schools will do a celebration for them here in the next couple months. Barfield, Blackman, Buchanan, Cedar Grove, Central, Christiana Elementary, Christiana Middle, John Coleman, Kittrell, Las Casas, Laverne Middle, McFadden, Oakland, Oakland Middle, Oakland High, Oakland Middle, Plainview Elementary, Riverdale High, Rock Springs Middle, Rockville Elementary, Rockville High, Rockville Middle, Rocky Fork Elementary, Rockville, Rocky Fork Middle, Siegel High, Siegel Middle, Smyrna Elementary, Smyrna Middle, Stewart's Creek Elementary, Stewart's Creek High, Stewart's Creek Middle, Thurman Francis, Whitworth Buchanan, and Wilson. And what's nice about growth, a lot of times achievement is going to be tied to your school's poverty level, and growth you will see on this is a mixture of our entire county, all schools, all demographics. Magnets, high poverty, low poverty, everybody's included. And you can see just by looking at it, it's a little bit of a change for last year, but a lot of similar schools as well. The other thing that I've emailed the board but haven't told everyone is that if you look at evaluation composites, which is part of growth, Rutherford County Schools has the highest evaluation composite growth, which is TVOS, of any other district in Tennessee. And so that is huge. That shows how much growth our students truly are learning. So to Mr. Vaughn's point, we have the greatest school system. For growth, we did. So what does that look like moving forward? Oh, I forgot about this part. We will, and this is important, Mr. Tidwell is actually the one that alerted us to it last year. So schools get a performance bonus. We don't know about our performance bonuses yet because it's on your letter grade. So this is just the growth portion. The achievement portion is not calculated until the report card comes out. Rutherford and Williamson were the only 2 school districts in Tennessee that received the highest bonus level last year, which was $4 million. And we are right on track to be right around there again this year. And so I appreciate that part being included because that definitely helps us. That was part of what we talked about, with our insurance as well. That helps give back to our teachers that are putting the work in. So congratulations to everyone. That's the work. It truly starts with our teachers working with our students, but our administrators run small cities. And so they're having to work with our teachers to our students. And of course, the partnerships with our parents and our community and the vision by our school board and then our central office staff. What we talk about a lot is how can we be supportive, but how can we not just make bureaucracy to be bureaucracy? Because as a large school system, that's where your big school systems get in trouble, is they make rules just to make rules. Don't necessarily help anything. So what's it look like for 25, 26? I don't necessarily want to be Debbie Downer because we're celebrating, but I do want to go over a couple things. TVOS is changing for next year. This is strictly at the department's, and I'm going to be very careful. This is at the department's discretion, not at legislators or anyone else. So they are changing TVOS. It is going to a multi-year, so instead of one, we get a new score every year. And this isn't that big of a deal. Your score will be based on 1/3 of the previous year and 2/3 of the current year. Again, that's not that big of a deal. The bigger deals, they're changing. So every school's still going to get a 1 through 5, except they are now going to use something called effect size. And I'm not going to get too much into the statistician world here. But once a school in a district is labeled as they earns a 1 through 5, they are then going to break apart the 1s and the 2s and the 4s and the 5s and differentiate them more. So you could have a level 5 earned school that now drops to a level 4 because of effect size. And in talking about this with the department, really it comes down to the distribution looks like a W right now. You have a lot of ones, not very many twos, a whole lot of threes, not very many fours, a whole lot of fives. They want a bell curve, and so my argument is we're making changes just because the narrative is going to be schools are performing worse when it was just a new measure that was used instead. And if we're using a bell curve, they've talked about they want 20% ones, 20% fives. That's not how a bell curve works. You'd have less numbers at the two extremes. So I think the biggest challenge that I have, because my job is to advocate for Rutherford County schools, on the slides provided by the State Department, it says larger schools are more likely to move towards the middle away from fives. Well, we have large schools. I don't know a way to say that other than that. We have large schools. And then their second bullet is that largest schools are more than 10% less likely to be a five. And so it seems like a system that it's going to be hard. I fully expected this. Our schools won't drop a lot. They'll move from fives to fours. And so it's, again, just a statistical model. The department has all the leeway to do that. I respect the department, but there are definitely some concerns I have what the public's going to see when you go from 32 level 5 schools to 14 level 5 schools if this was implemented on last year's data and the rest of them are fours, because nothing changed. The data was still there. But I wanted to focus on the positives, but also make you all aware this is going to be something we're going to have to talk about in the next couple months, because that's going to be a change for schools.
Well, the people who work at the State Department here in Nashville, did they formerly work at the State Department in Washington?
So
it seem like they have the same characteristics.
I think these are statisticians, and I love numbers too, that are just wanting. And you can argue for either thing. They've used one measure for a while, now they're changing. You could argue for either. It'll help small districts, what they're doing now could have helped large districts. Just the change and how it's going to impact big school systems and big schools, when that's pretty much all we have is big schools, is a challenge.
Dr. Sullivan? Yes. Okay, so maybe I didn't hear this or capture it while you were talking. So why are they changing the whole thing? I mean, because you're not showing the graphs, but there's two graphs. There's the current graph of all the schools and how they're laid out. It's kind of staggered. And then now the new proposal with the new scores, it's more like a bell curve. So that means there'll be more people pushed in the middle and less people in the level 5 and level 4. I mean level 3. I mean level 2 or 1. So why is there a sudden push in trying to change this? And so my second thing is, are they changing the TCAT test as well? Because
no, test won't change.
Because some of those scoring is dependent on what the TCAT scores are. And so if they're changing that, then shouldn't they be changing the test too?
They're trying to impress the state legislature to justify the stand that they're taking. They're making it trying.
Well, here's the thing. There was an article that came out, and I forget who published it, but they had this particular article talked about what a child will see on a TCAT test for the ELA portion for third grade. And I don't know how many educators took it, and it was actually educators that took the test. And they came back and they found at a conclusion that these educators did not do as well because of the type of questions that are being asked on the test. So my question is, if they're making all these changes, shouldn't they also reevaluate the TCAT test? Because that is what's being graded on. And if they're wanting everyone to go to the middle, then shouldn't they also look at that as well?
You can make data do whatever you want to, and I think what can be frustrating is that we're performing, and it's going to look like our community that we are not performing as well. It was just
exactly
what was used. The other part connected to that, I do want to make the board aware of and this is part of director's update. Again, I don't want to lose the focus of the celebration, but I do want the board to be aware. The second part, and this is concerning for elementary school, and again, this is not legislator involved, this is department. We as a board have looked at moving away from as much technology. And so I think that's been the legislator's intent as well. We went 1-to-1 high school, and then pushed 2-1 down to middle instead of being 1-1. We were notified, there's been some conversation. We were notified last week that starting in the 2027 school year, I know that may seem like a long ways away, that's not far away, that the multiple choice, multiple answer, multiple select portion for 2nd through 5th grade is going to be online. And so that's going to be a challenge. And so that's a fiscal impact that we're going to have to look at computers for 2nd through 5th graders. 2, developmentally assessing a 2nd grader on content, but they're going to have to be using a device. That's a tough sell. And so just know that it was mentioned, I think, in our director's update on this last Thursday that decision has been made. So 2nd through 5th grade, they're still going to have a writing portion that is handwritten, but the other portions of TCAP, starting the spring of 2027, will be online for 2nd through 5th grade. That's a struggle. So, can I end on positive and then some nice questions about that? Yes.
Now that we're all
You have questions on that?
sad.
Yeah, actually, before we go to the positive real quick, could you go back over the what do you call it, how they're redoing, I forget the word you just used.
Effect size?
Yes.
Yes. And so effect size is another statistical measure. Right now they use growth, and growth gives you a growth measure. Does give credit to large school systems because there's more history and you have a larger pool to say, all right, this school is successful because you have a lot of students feeding into that. Effect size looks at other things to be able to get to the standard deviation and standard error and all kinds of different things. It's just they're still going to use the growth measure to determine if you're a 1 through a 5. But then they're going to apply the effect size to see if you're a 4 or a 5 or a 1 or a 2. And so it's just a different statistical analysis. I asked for the purpose, and that was kind of the reason.
So, Dr. Sullivan, I know you may not know this answer, but the growth measure is what we use for example, ESL students. When they're different tiers, that is where they're really measured on, is on the growth side. They're not really measured on the academic performance. So if we're changing the effective, if we're moving to an effective size, how is that going to look like for those schools that have a majority, like Smyrna Elementary School, for example, or that have the demographics of ESL students are pretty significant, and that is a measure that really helps that school. So how will that barometer move?
So the schools and what I've challenged and talking with the department, they were very receptive to this. They said individual teacher scores will not change. And so how they're earning scores will not have effect size. That is true for teachers that are in a tested area. But if you're a non-tested area teacher, your overall level of effectiveness is determined by the school's level. So if your school is going from a 5 to a 4, your individual score is going to drop as well. And they were very receptive to that too when they say the teacher scores won't change. That's not necessarily accurate. Smyrna Elementary and all of our schools that are large schools, we talked about, we may see it drop just based on the kind of what I want to reiterate to the board is that our mission doesn't change to make sure that we want all of our students to grow. And so that is still our expectation. And I put a lot of faith in our teachers to be able to make sure that our groups of kids are learning and growing. And so that's what our focus is going to be. Because I didn't get a lot of movement of trying to change that back. So,
Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wrote down 5,679.
we're new students to us this year.
So from May to August, we had that many students?
Yeah, but you do have to remember about 2,700 kids are kindergartners.
Okay.
The rest of them have moved in, and we lost students as well. So we had students move out, and these students replaced them. That is just a large number of kids who we talk about mobility. We have a lot of mobility in our district.
So what is that number? Because it's usually between 1,500 to 1,000.
Growth-wise, we're exactly where we were last year.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Collins.
You know, the State Department changing the way they're doing things shouldn't surprise anybody. I've been involved with this ever since they first began.
good point.
And every 2 or 3 years, they come up with everybody's got a better mousetrap. And so, you know, they come up with it, and what they do, they keep shifting numbers and doing things in different ways. for various reasons. And now they want to push it back to the middle. And the bell curve, that's what a bell curve does. It just pushes it back to the middle. And so, it's just one more thing that they've done, and, they can't leave well enough alone. And I guess they thought they had a better mousetrap, but I don't know. It's just, it makes it difficult because you can't get comfortable in doing one thing without them changing it and have to do it some other way. And so, and at the end of the day, it's all about what kids learn. It's not how much you test them, it's how much they learn. And whatever you got to do to teach them, that's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, it's how much the kids take home. That's the reason value added is so important. This is how much the kids have learned. And, that tells you that our folks are doing the best job in the state of Tennessee.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, we are.
Ms. Maxwell, I have one more question. Dr. Sullivan, it's September. Have we received from the state what the measures are for the new scores?
Partial. So we've received this is where this change was, but what the cuts are going to be between a 1-2 and a 4-5 will be released later this fall. And
Later this fall.
Yeah.
So that's something we can help is trying to get that information
Yeah.
pushed down. That is something that I have relayed about.
And it is getting quicker. It's not back to where it was 5 years
That's
ago.
good.
But this is, we didn't get it before the school year started, but we got it close to the school year.
Good.
Just the cuts aren't there, so truly still don't know what those would be.
That's good, because that's something that I've been relaying to the lawmakers and other people, that we need the communication to be a little bit more quicker.
Yep.
So that's promising.
Good news. Yes, so good news, we had something that I wanted to go ahead and start was develop a better relationship with the mayors in our county. And so we had our first mayoral council meeting today. So we had it here, all city municipality mayors and county Mayor Carter met today. So I appreciate all of them taking their time out of their day to just kind of, one, here's an overview of the school system, but two, let's look at growth. Where's growth coming from, and what are y'all's perception of the school system? Even though it may not be reality, whatever someone's perception is, can be their reality. So just trying to forge those relationships better, because ultimately for our school system to be successful and for our county to be successful, we have to have a strong public school system. And having those partnerships, we only met for an hour, we could have met for a lot longer. And so it was a great first meeting today.
I think that's excellent. Thank you for doing that. Is there anything else? Ms. Darby?
I just wanted to speak a little bit on the bus resolution and why I was in opposition to it, because we really didn't have discussion, and I didn't want to pull you back to it earlier. I just wanted to say that I'm not against it if the data backs up that it doesn't increase a risk to our students. And unfortunately, the graph that was sent, I asked for some more information on that I never did receive. And according to TDOT, the drivers with the most accidents are between the ages of 16 and 25. And that's just in general. That's not school bus drivers specifically. To Dr. Sullivan's point, we have to be careful when we look at data, because the highest percentage of accidents could be in your drivers that range from 45 to 65, but if that's where the majority of your school bus drivers fall in their age range, it's obvious that that's where the majority of the accidents are going to come from if you only have 2 25-year-olds driving. So that's what I had asked for clarification on that I hadn't received yet. So I don't have an issue looking at that and supporting that if the data doesn't put our students at a higher risk, but that's where my concern comes from. I just wanted to let the public know why I voted in opposition to that.
Okay.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr.
So I just want to say that this is, September is the month for Suicide Awareness Month and prevention. And then there was a conference that was set that would happen in this past week over in, I think it was at Embassy Suites Hotel. And it was a Sparking Change, Igniting Passion. And there were some breakout sessions about suicide prevention and how to help that within the school system. And I hate that I missed it, because I really wanted to go to that conference. Amy Baltimore, who used to work here, she had invited me to attend. And so I hope that I can make it next year.
Yes, Ms. Sharp.
I will address the bus issue as well, because I had several people call. I spoke with other representatives and representatives of Cameron Sexton's office, and they're not going to change this. The state general assembly is not going to change this. TDOT's not going to change this. So it's a liability for our school system to have the younger drivers in the buses. So that was my opposition to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vaughn.
All right, two things. Trey, before you go to sleep on me, can you give us just, I'm teasing. I'd leave you out of this. Can you give us a quick update about routes, unfilled routes, bus transportation, how everything is going? And maybe Dr. Sullivan, you have posted the new transportation director's job, is that correct?
Yes, and it's still taking applications. I've been posted for several weeks. We have it national, we have local, statewide.
When's the cutoff, I guess?
I don't have one.
Okay.
Probably during the middle of fall break. And
Perfect.
That way we can schedule interviews for right after fall break.
Just want to bring that to everybody's attention. But if you kindly give us an update, then I have one other thing I want to talk about, Claire.
Okay.
We currently have 6 open routes. We have 3 contractors that received letters this week, 30-day letters, because they do not currently have a driver on their bus. And we have 2 that had already received 30-day letters that they're operating in that window. If they get to 30 days and still don't have it, we will be coming before the board requesting those routes. So there's potentially 11. Right now, there's currently 6.
Currently 6. And that's part of policy, is to give them 30 days to rectify the situation.
Generally, give them some grace. That's a week or 2 before
Right.
we even start the 30 days. So it could have been, with 30 days, it could have been a couple of weeks prior to that. So it's usually a little longer. But per contract, before we can bring their route to this board for removal, they have to be officially notified that they have 30 days to rectify the problem.
And that was one thing, Representative Sparks, we had talked about, getting testing done, or, that kind of stuff, background checks done, if there's things we could even ask for. I understand, I appreciate both of y'all's opinion on the age difference. To me, if somebody's got a CDL license, they've been tested by the state, they've gone through the courses, I think, that probably speaks volumes to something. But anyway, thanks for the update. Second thing is, and this kind of goes back to the other discussion about testing and everything, and this is, my knowledge of it's going on, 45 years now. I remember my mother always worried about that, and then, in my lifetime, you hear about test scores and all that. But I think what I'm getting around to saying is bring to everybody's attention, probably it ebbs and flows depending on who's at the Capitol. And, not casting stones about any political party or any governor or anybody like that. But I hope people consider, we're going into a governor's race next year, and I hope people consider candidates that support public education, because that's what it's all about. I can remember one of our good Democratic leaders here years ago, and a highway's named after him, John Bragg, and he always, the civic organizations I was in, Farm Bureau, he would always say this: education plus roads equals jobs. It's a real simple equation. And so we're in the business of educating, and so I think the purpose of what I'm bringing this up is for everybody to consider the candidates that do run next year for governor, that they are going to be a friend to public education, that they are going to continue to give us choices. I think people do need choice, but we do need support of public education, and maybe not change so much. Listen to teachers. Education needs to be a bottom-up business, not a top-down. That would be my 2 cents. So anyway, just want to get that off my chest.
Thank you. Mr. Tidwell.
I just want to say that this Sunday, as James Evans has mentioned, Oakland High School will have the ribbon cutting for the annex we're excited to see this be the completion of kind of the 3 annexes. Well, we have one coming up, Laverne, later on, but this sort when we voted those through. I'm excited about it. I hope the community comes out and comes to see what this looks like and see what your tax dollars being put to use looks like and the good use that it's doing in our community. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
I got a sneak peek this morning. It looks beautiful.
It's beautiful.
At this, very, very proud of what it looks like. If there's no more,
Move to adjourn.
we're adjourned.